Okay, so here's the thing. No, not that thing. Not that thing either. Could you just let me talk? Alright, so they just came out with new augment mods for Ash, Chroma, Oberon, and Banshee. I haven't even checked the patch notes yet. I was only informed because of a YouTube commenter who said, hey, they updated Oberon, so you should update the God Builds. And then to confirm that, my clanmates sorta told me that DE had listened to me. And I was like, DE listen to me? What? What do you mean? So I'll play the audio clip for you.
I would suggest that DE release a augment mod for renewal, like revitalizing renewal. Make it so while you're casting renewal or while the renewal is healing your health, putting it back, you're invulnerable. You can't take damage while it's being casted. Or even better yet, make it so the revitalizing renewal revives down teammates, and if you cast it early enough, just before you go down, it could even revive you. That would make it so worth it. And also, DE, if you're going to release an augment mod that's going to take up mod capacity, also speed up his animation time, because that is ungodly slow.
Yeah, that's incredible, right? I mean, they pretty much did. But they didn't think me worthy enough to include me in the patch notes, I guess. That's fine. Phoenix Renewal. It's exactly what I suggested it to be. Instead of, self-reviving or whatever, if you're taking lethal damage while casting Renewal, you void going down altogether and it returns a portion of your health exactly as Defy would from Wukong. That's really incredible. So it's for that reason that I decided that, Oberon and Nekros need to be revisited. Nekros didn't get a new augment mod. There's nothing in this update that featured Nekros at all. I thought for a while that I needed an in-depth conversation about him, because there's a lot of the commenters who are doubting this build, and I'm going to shut them down in this build. But back to Phoenix Renewal. You would think that this would resolve all the issues that Oberon has with this one mod. However, you would be sadly mistaken. Because even though this is an incredible mod, and it really, really helps with the survivability of Oberon, cutting down a lot of the problems that he has, making him more versatile in terms of what weapons he can use, there's still this window of opportunity where you absolutely need to know that damage is incoming. For instance, if you're turning the corner and a level 100 Corpus Tech spots you before you spot him, he is most likely still going to kill you, even if you're rocking a natural talent and a drift mod that reduces your casting time. That's one problem. Another problem is the fact that the renewal, it doesn't last long enough for you to know when lethal damage is coming. You could be completely involved with a fight. You could be trying to rifle someone down and get hit in the back of the head with a bombard rocket, and it's game over, essentially. You have to know that the damage is coming in, and you're not. You're not a psychic. I don't know anybody who's a psychic who plays Warframe. Could somebody contact Professor Charles Xavier and ask him if he plays Warframe in his spare time? I make a joke of it, but it's kind of not funny, because DE sort of expects us to be a psychic and know when this damage is coming in. I mean, that's cool if you can see it, that's fine. But my suggestion for this issue in particular isn't even anything to do with Oberon, actually. My suggestion to counter this issue is to put natural talent as an Exilis mod. I didn't even notice that this was an issue up until I tried to rebuild to make room for Phoenix Renewal. And when I seen that Natural Talent wasn't an Exiles mod, because I don't use this mod a whole lot, I think that there's alternative ways to get around it, and I don't see its usefulness, but in Oberon it's absolutely necessary. So I noticed that this mod couldn't be put up here in the Exiles slot, and I was like, why? This is a critical error. It seriously is. It's a utility mod. It shouldn't be down here taking up slots that other valuable mods should be. So my counter suggestion to Oberon still needing a buff is not to even give Oberon a buff at all. Just make the Natural Talent be an Exiles mod. That way we can put it up there and we can put up a more important mod in its spot. See, because all that's going on right now is I have the Cunning Drift here, which is to increase my power range. So if I swapped a Natural Talent into the Cunning Drift spot, I could then grab Stretch over here. Way over here, because I have too many mods. I could then grab Stretch, put it in Natural Talent's place, and then what would happen is it would increase my casting range. So you're probably wondering, why would I want to do that? We're talking about Phoenix Renewal here. Well, there's two things to take into consideration here. If you can see the enemy, you have some response time, correct? If you see the Corpus Tech, if you see the Heavy Bombard, whatever it is that's a major threat, you can cast Reckoning. You can cast it early enough that it will CC them, and you'll have more reaction time. You'll know that potential damage is incoming. The way that I operate in a mission is I single out high priority targets. I make sure that anything that poses a threat to me living is dead or rendered useless. A lot of Warframes have ways of dealing with these issues in which Oberon doesn't have too many things. He's essentially only got the Smite going on for him and the Reckoning. So to take full advantage of the Reckoning, we need that power range. We actually need them to release a Prime Stretch and then make Natural Talent be an Exiles mod, because it's just not... The build that I've got going on right here, it's pretty wonderful, if only you can get close enough to the threats that you can visibly see. Because it's, right now, you can be within visible range, which is a good distance enough for a Bombard to kill you. But you have to get closer, you have to close the gap in order to do the Reckoning to prevent them from putting you down. And even then, the time that it takes for you to get to them, you're probably going to get shot with a rocket and die. So, that's essentially all I have to say about the Oberon build. There's not a whole lot of more upgrading that we need to do in order to bring him to perfection. It's that mod, it took care of a lot of problems, and I praise DE for doing so, because it's just incredible. So before I transition off into Nekros, I wanted to talk very briefly about the Chroma mod, because it's a hit and miss. Alright, so the Chroma mod is a little bit different. It really depends on what type of Chroma you're using. If you're using a Fire Chroma, it's a terrible mod. If you're using an Ice Chroma, it's pretty excellent. Because there's subtle differences with the elementals that we use. Essentially, an Ice Chroma will put on armor and will give it to his teammates. And this is good for duration builds. This is good to keep your teammates going, even while you're not in the vicinity. Your mentality as an Ice Chroma is to put on Vex Armor and Elemental Ward immediately, and then get near your teammates, and then your teammates will positively benefit from this. It's pretty incredible because the augment mod, if they get close enough to you, for a portion of that time that you have it casted, they'll have the armor as well. So again, I say that the mod is really good for ice chromas, just really, really nice. However, for a fire chroma, there is essentially nothing in our build that's changing. The only thing that I did differently is for the fire chroma, I put on rejuvenation, while the ice chroma is still running the energy siphon. But everything you see here is pretty much going to be the same. I didn't include any augment mods, and the reason why this new augment mod actually nerfs a fire chroma is because a fire chroma will increase your maximum health by 200. So what ends up happening is, say you're a Warframe that has a max health range of 700, and you also have quick thinking. So you take lethal damage, and all that's left of your health is 2. If I happen to come up next to you with the Elemental Ward as a fire chroma, I will increase your max HP to 900 from 700. Also, what ends up happening is, since you're at 2 HP left, you will be at 202 HP left. So you gain the additional 200 points as your max health, and you also gain it as current health to work with. Now when I leave the area and the effects of the Elemental Ward fall off, you still keep that 200 health to work with. So your maximum health goes back down to 700, but you're still at 202 health. Does this make sense to you? This means that negative duration builds are going to be super helpful for a fire chroma, because the second the Elemental Ward effects fall off with fire chroma, you can come back after recasting the Elemental Ward and give them another 200 HP points. He's what I would call a soft core healer. He's not as nearly as effective as Limbo with his augment, or Undertow for Hydroid, the curative Undertow, Blessing, or Oberon's Renewal. It's hit and miss. The mod itself is very situational. Even with the Ash build, I didn't include the augment simply because we're pretty much set. I can't tell you how many really dense commenters have told me to take off the Rising Storm. Please, if you're one of the people who believe that you need to take this mod off, go back to preschool. This increases your damage by so much. You don't understand that when your melee multiplier is increased, you positively benefit. You get a boost in damage. This has gone from making Blade Storms have to be casted 2 to 3 times in a crowd to just casting it once and it annihilating everything. I could demonstrate at this point and show you that level 100s get completely decimated with the inclusion of this mod. But since this video is primarily an Oberon and Nekros, I'm going to stick to Oberon and Nekros. So that being said, I'm going to move straight on to Nekros, and I'm going to talk to you about his build. Alright, so this is my Nekros, and there's pretty much nothing that's changed with this build from the God Builds episode to current state. The only thing that I'm going to address is why we're doing what we're doing, and why it will always be better than a tank build. You heard me correctly. This build is superior to a tank build. Completely superior. The thing about this build is so many commenters had essentially not enjoyed this build because it didn't include this Shield of Shadows augment mod. Their argument was that there's so much more potential with Nekros that you can build him to be a tank. Well, to that argument, I say, he's not a tank. He's really not. He was not added to the game to be a tank. He was added to the game to re-roll the drop tables. And anytime recruiting asks for an Nekros, they're not asking for any of his abilities except for Desecrate. That's it. That's really all they want. So why would you sacrifice that one utility that he has that everybody wants him for, when, in fact, you can still technically be tanky without having to sacrifice his Desecrate? Essentially, all the Shield of Shadows does is make it so when you kill things and then you bring them back from the dead, they take the damage for you, like a Trinity's Link. But the reason why this is completely useless, why this mod just doesn't even belong in the game, is because there's a method that you can use that's 10 times more effective. So there's only one thing that has changed about this mod. I included health conversion. I can't necessarily recall what I threw out in order to make this build possible, but if you're still rocking the Warframe God Builds Nekros, then you'll be able to tell me. But there's a mod that was sacrificed for health conversion. So I'm going to explain this build a little bit more thoroughly. That way people understand why your tank builds are inferior and why this is pretty much the pinnacle of what Nekros can achieve. So with Despoil, you use your health to Desecrate instead of your energy. That makes it so you can cast Desecrate no matter what. You don't need energy. So essentially the negative fall off of Soul Survivor is negated by Despoil. Anytime teammates need a revive, you can safely from a distance soul punch them and it will drain all your energy. But that's okay. You don't need your energy. You can just, next time an enemy is dead, you can Desecrate, and because Equilibrium will make it so you get your health back, it will also make it so you get energy from picking up health. And what does Desecrate do? It spawns health orbs. And what does health orbs do for you in terms of health conversion? Well, it makes it so when you get enough health orbs, it can stack, and it will take damage for you. So this one mod makes him tanky. Actually, it makes him pretty damn tanky. It makes him very comparable to Shield of Shadows. I mean, essentially the minions will stick around until their health bar runs out, and when they die, that's when you start taking hits again. But I've tested health conversion, and I've seen how much of a beating it can absorb, and I took a level 100 Bombard rocket straight to the face, and this, I believe, I still had one little cube orbiting me, which means that it was going to take up still more damage. It was going to soak up more damage, and I was still okay. The great thing about Despoil is, since it hurts you, it makes it so you're always going to pick up a health orb. Therefore, you will positively benefit from Equilibrium, and you will also positively benefit from health conversion. Do you guys realize how incredible these 4 mods are together? I don't think you realize it. I really think that there's a lot of lazy fucks out there who would rather put together the tank build and sacrifice their Desecrate versus the stealth build. Because I've stated before that this build uses the Naromon lens. It uses Shadow Step. So every time you get a crit, you go invisible. So all that's needed for this particular build is to include a fast, heavy critting melee weapon. As long as you have a crit weapon that you can attack enemies after you have used your 5th ability and activated your operator and the lens, Shadow Step will come into play, and you can start critting and start going invisible. So the way I do it is I'll run around, I'll hit an enemy, I'll go invisible, I'll Desecrate. I'll hit an enemy to refresh the invisibility, I'll Desecrate. I'll keep doing this, I'll keep repeating this process, and I never have an issue. I'll repeat that again. I never have an issue. I don't have to tank. Because there's no incoming damage at all. They don't know that I'm there. Therefore, this build is superior to any tank build you can ever muster. There's not many God builds that I will fight about. There's not many God builds that I will sit there and talk shit to people who disagree. Because there's a lot of different God builds that you can throw out and put in different mods at your leisure. But in terms of the Nekros build, this is pretty much the be-all, end-all. I'm not trying to gloat. I'm just trying to state that, you know, when something works and it's an undeniable thing, if you just test it for yourself and find out just how undeniable it is, you'll agree. This is the thing to do. It does not sacrifice Desecrate, it utilizes invisibility, and it utilizes aspects that make him more tanky. I will always outperform anybody who uses Shield of Shadows. I will go longer in T4 defense, I will go longer in T4 survival. Whatever the case is, I will go longer. The only thing that I want to exercise as a caution to you as the player is to inform you that whenever your teammates are present, you need to be at a far enough distance away from them that enemies aren't shooting at them, missing and hitting you. I know that it's difficult with a lot of different tile sets, like the Corpus tile set, there's very small corridors, but keep this in mind. If you're going to utilize the stealth build over the tank build, then just be wary of your teammates' locations. I would go into your options in your display and make it so you can see your teammates' names and your teammates' health bars. That way you can kind of avoid them, kind of be a loner. Because although he's a really nice touch to a team situation, with this particular build, he sort of needs to be the lone wolf amongst his team members. So that pretty much covers it for everything that I needed to talk about. I hope that I've informed you guys and enlightened you on how secure I am about the God Builds Nekros. There's absolutely nothing that needs to be changed. You never even need to spawn minions. So if you like this video, rate, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, peace.
Oh my god!
That's it.
Could we just shoot the platforms, please? Could we just fucking... Jesus Christ! I bet DE was thinking exactly this. We're gonna put platforms that you have to stand on, but we're gonna put the one enemy that knocks you off the platforms. For fuck's sakes! I'm definitely putting this on YouTube now!
I'm gonna go sleep.
Look at this!